So for the consumer who is scared about buying a used EV, I would say don't be scared, because there are some tools like Voltest that can remove any fear and doubt about the car that you're buying. And you may find a car that is in better shape than others. And that's why you always need to test it, because they don't age the same way. But it's quite rare to find a completely broken battery, which is a thing that you still want to avoid. But if you're not getting an EV because you're afraid of the used battery, just run a Voltest report and you can.
Today I chatted with Niccolò Ferrari, co-founder and CTO of a Techstars company called Voltest. Voltest is an EV battery diagnostics company that provides a vastly more affordable and quicker way to test your EV's battery health. Today we chat about EV battery testing, how Niccolò's startup can verify a battery's health in the most time-saving manner for both dealerships and service shops, as well as the average consumer. This is Earth ABC featuring Niccolò Ferrari. Today, we got Niccolò, an Italian engineer who's worked at not only Ferrari, but Ducati, and now runs his own startup in the electric vehicle industry. So glad to have you on, Niccolò.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
And right now, it's a very interesting time for you and your startup. You guys were formerly known as Scoutit and rebranded as Voltest. And it seems that you're receiving early signals or signs of product market fit. What was the real world issue with electric vehicles that you're focusing on now?
Sure. So yeah, with Scoutit, as you said, we had to rebrand it to Voltest because we did a pivot. With Scoutit, we were working on managing the end of life of EV batteries. You know that batteries degrade over time and with usage. So while working on our previous project, we noticed that there was a big gap in how to estimate when a battery is at the end of life, so how it is degrading, etc. And basically nobody, neither consumers nor dealers or anyone working on EVs, has an easy way and affordable way to do a battery check, which is so important to do because if you think about it, replacing a battery is super expensive. It can cost up to $25,000 for certain battery packs. So you understand that as a consumer, you don't want that. And as a professional working in the industry, you want to avoid that as much as possible. So the biggest issue is how to avoid these batteries and also how to price cars, electric cars, properly. And since the battery is the most important component, the state of health is going to drive the value of a car. And so we shifted and created Voltest for this reason, provide a easy-to-use, affordable solution and quick solution to solve these huge issues.
Got you. It makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised that there wasn't anything before Scoutit or Voltest to measure the battery health, especially because it's so important with at least for a dealership, maximizing your I guess income from selling an EV, but also protecting your reputation, because if you sell an EV with really poor battery health, then the consumer is going to go back, maybe give you a poor review and so on and so forth.
That's right.
About how you guys are much quicker in kind of providing an estimate on the battery health. How quick are we talking?
So imagine that the standard procedure with our product takes around a couple of minutes. It depends on the car. Some cars are even quicker. In 40 seconds, we got all the data. Some cars, for example, the older Teslas, take up to 5 minutes. But if we compare this to the traditional products that are used in certain service shops, these products take hours because they do a state of health estimation during a charge and a discharge of your battery. So you physically have to charge and discharge the battery, and it takes hours, from 3 hours, a couple of hours, all the way to 1 day. And just to give you an idea, Tesla just released for all the consumers a way to estimate the state of health with a procedure, And also in that case, it's around 15 hours. So you understand a dealer doesn't have 15 hours to keep a customer car during an appraisal. They don't want to do that. And also regarding the costs, these professional tools cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Some of them cost $10,000–$15,000. So our solution is quicker, accurate, of course, and also way more convenient.
Yeah. So in terms of the convenience, like how big and bulky is like your product? Because to measure the battery health, I can imagine a couple different ways one can go about doing that. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, what exactly does the Voltest product look like?
So unfortunately, we sold out all the inventory I had in our warehouse here just today. We sold the last 2 kits, so I don't have any to show you, but it's very small. So it's a device that is this big, and it's a OBD device. You can look on internet what an OBD device is. It's a very small Bluetooth tool that you attach to connect to the OBD port that is available in any car. And basically with this tool, then you connect to an app, our own app, and you can run the tests. So it's very small, it's portable. And the cool thing is that we have users going in the parking lot or at a wholesale auction testing cars, and all they have to do is get this small device. And to professionals, we provide the Voltest Professional Kit, which is a bigger box, which includes all the tools, some adapter cables, because for some cars, you need to remove certain plastic pieces to access to different ports. But all you need is basically this device. And compared to the bulky iPad style solutions, it's way more portable because you can fit your phone in your pocket basically, and the OBD too.
Got you. That portability is actually really crazy, very convenient, I would say. So like a person that's working at a dealership, they could pretty much just like hop into any of the EVs, just like connect the I guess like the dongle is what I'm thinking about. The Voltest dongle connected to the EV, and within minutes they'll get a good, accurate reading of the battery health for that EV.
Yes, that's correct. That's exactly what they do. And we have just today we had one dealer doing 5 tests in half an hour. Just probably they just received some cars and they wanted to test all of them.
Right. That's gonna save them like at least 10 hours per EV, and then you add that up, that's more than a day's work of just measuring battery health. So a lot of time savings using Voltest. I imagine though, like because you have like the large kits for like the dealership, and then you have just like the dongle sold separately, do you have like the product available for like consumers or other
as
groups?
of now, we are focusing on B2B. So we only sell the Voltest Professional Kit, which includes the dongle and all the adapter cables in one very practical box. We plan to go also down the consumer route with a B2C product, which is basically going to be a smaller box with just the dongle and a small piece of paper for the instructions. And we think that also consumers, we already received some requests. Consumers are going to benefit from that because there's a lot of people who buy used cars not from dealers, but from other consumers, right? So having a tool that you're going to pay, I don't know, $70, and you're just going to buy it, use it for when you want to buy a car, and then you can track the health of your car. It's going to be very convenient. Or if you see that you're an EV owner and suddenly your range drops dramatically, you may go to a service shop and have it diagnosed, but you can also do an independent test by yourself. And this is a thing we want to do in the future. So we're definitely looking for the consumer version of our product too.
For sure. So I imagine then, in addition to dealerships, service shops are also like a target customer profile.
Yeah, that's correct. So we sold some kits to service shops. We have a partnership with a company which is called Repair Paul, And they are a chain of more than 3,000 affiliated repair shops. And they offer this as an added service to EV owners. And it's a good way also because service shops with electrifications, they will do less oil changes because EVs don't have oil changes, right? So they will certainly start losing some income, right? And this is a good solution to start adding and generating revenue from EVs and offer services to EV owners. So it's a thing that we're working on, and we already have a network of Voltest certified shops.
Interesting. And what does Voltest certified shops mean? Like, what does that entail?
Basically, it's the cool way to say that a shop is using Voltest and can provide this service to consumers or anyone who needs a battery check. And we're building a map on our website with all the certified shops or certified locations so that we aim to become the reference product and testing solution so that when you have some doubts on your battery, you can just go to a shop and have a Voltest report run. And we aim to have this done anywhere in the US.
That's actually a really cool vision because like as an EV driver, I can then go to like the Voltest website, look up a service shop that has like this capability to accurately measure my EV battery health because I know something is up. I just don't know how bad it is. And I could just pull up to the shop, get them to use the Voltest product, get an accurate reading, and then make an appropriate decision for maybe replacing my battery or maybe getting a new EV, just whatever suits like the consumer. So I think that's brilliant.
And also, just to give you an example of what really happened. So we had, as I said before, if your battery is behaving strangely, you can go to the official, I don't know, Hyundai or Kia dealership and have a scan run by their tool. But what we found out sometimes is that maybe that tool was giving state of health of 100%. And so the dealership said, well, this car is good. I don't see why you're claiming that it has low range. The car seems to be good. Then this user ran a Voltest report, and basically he found out that there was a broken module. The module is a set of it's a part of the battery. And so basically he said, okay, this is not true. What you're telling me is not true because I can show you that the battery has something wrong that needs a warranty recall. And luckily for consumers, the warranties are cover all of these, but we start to see also a lot of EVs that are not under warranty anymore.
Right.
And that can be you need it even more.
Yeah, like really putting the power into the hands of the consumer. I think that's always like a good thing. I don't want to miss any of the benefits that a consumer or like another everyday person that drives an EV sees. So what other benefits have I like potentially missed regarding like what Voltest can bring to like the everyday EV consumer?
Sure. So there's plenty of benefits. So of course, the first is to keep an eye on the health. Keep an eye if the battery pack has some broken modules, cells. But not only that, of course, you want to avoid that scenario, but you also want to know how is it aging. Aging is normal. And over time, you lose capacity. So you lose range, right? Your battery has less capacity, which translates to less energy that you can use. And with our tool, you can see how aging is affecting the range. So we also show the actual usable range of your car. And it's really helpful because, of course, if you're driving a car and keeping it for long, you need to account the fact that after some years, you will have less range. But how much? And so we answer the how much. And this is a benefit. Then we are also working, and we're going to release, hopefully very soon, route planning based on the data of your battery. So if you have a route planning app, a generic route planning app, you're never going to get the precise route planning based on your range. You're going to get a standard, for example, if you select a Model 3 Tesla, you're going to get a standard estimation. But What if your car has aged worse? You're gonna get stranded on the road. So we're working on route planning tools, navigation systems that include all of this information that we get from the battery, so that you have the most precise planning to plan charges, for example, during a road trip and things like these.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I imagine the navigation uses just like the averages for the car's like range. So I think the more accurate way to calculate range gives a sense of security for the consumer, being able to drive with a peace of mind, knowing like they'll reliably get to point A to point B with X amount of range, and they can plan their trip accordingly. I guess for electric vehicles, every single one is quite different. What percentage of EVs do you currently support with Voltest?
I would say we cover more than 95% of the used car market. And whenever there's a new car that lands in the market, for example, Rivian or new Mercedes or whatever, we get on the car and we work on the car to finally be able to support that car, be able to get the state of health of that car. And we have a very strict and precise validation method, which is also one of our strongest, differentiating factors from some competitors. So we get in the car, we drive the car, and after we did a lot of testing, we support it by Voltest, and you can test that car. And we're happy to say that we cover most of the used car market, and we have a team of people that works on that consistently.
Got you. 95% is a good percentage thus far. You guys are still very early and growing very quickly. One thing that you shared before was that electric cars have become a political thing. Could you elaborate more on what you meant by that?
Yeah, sure. So I think that, unfortunately, both in Europe and in the United States, it has become a political issue more than an environmental issue or more than a convenience thing, right? So I believe that technology is cool in general if a certain technology, for example, electric cars, suits your needs, and that's the best solution, go for it. Doesn't really matter if you are, for example, Democratic or Republican. I think it should be based on your needs, your real usage, and basically, I know that things shouldn't be pushed too much from above, in the sense that people, especially in the US, don't like being forced to do certain things. And some may say that EV adoption has been pushed a lot. I think, yes, it has been pushed a lot, but for good reasons. For example, environmental reasons, which I think are underestimated everywhere. So the idea is that it shouldn't be a political thing, because if you are living in a rural area with no charging infrastructure, you should still be free to buy your petrol truck, and probably it won't have a massive effect on the environment, and you should be free to do that. But at the same time, I think it's very important to push for all the people who could use an EV. I think it's good to push in that direction, but it's not because I'm blue or I'm red or I'm green or I'm yellow. It's because it's good for the environment, and that should be, and also you can save some money. So probably that should be the main driver. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it has become you and your ideas against me and my ideas, which it's not really productive for anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I can very see where you're coming from, and you've been posting a lot across your socials in the last like 6 months. Not to mention like all the time like poured into this company. There's a lot of exciting things. I bet that is happening with like Voltest and in the EV market. What would you say is the most exciting part though for you?
So for me, I think it's very exciting to see that the company finally is in the right trajectory in general. As I said, we've been pouring our our lives in this. I've been working on this for more than 3 years, almost 3 years full time. So it's good to see that finally we have a product that solves a need, and solves a problem that is perceived right now, and people appreciate the solution that we bring. So that's the most exciting thing. And I'm also really excited to see that, although, talking about political issues, we're in a situation right now that is not the most positive in general globally. And although we have this situation, EV sales are growing. So that means that the technology is improving. People starting to understand that it's a good technology. It's really useful for the environment, and also I would say it's very relaxing to drive an EV. It's a good user experience compared to a petrol car. So it's very exciting to see that sales are growing, even though they have, let's say, a little bit of a headwind. And for us, this means that business is only going to grow, and we're at the start of the let's say the right current, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, just from how you were talking about that, I could feel the excitement emanating from you.
Yeah, and I like being on cars. As you said, I worked in the automotive industry. I love driving cars, and I love driving old cars, petrol cars, but I also like the technology that is bringing advancements. And so it really pumps me up to work in this industry and try to make something useful for everybody.
For sure. Like if anyone can think of a car guy, you should be the first name to come up then.
Yeah, let's say the last name is quite an indication.
Yeah. And then I originally thought like you had some like personal ties to Ferrari, not only because like you worked there, but because of the last name. But you debunked that in our first conversation.
Yeah, we are literally the translation of Smith. So if any Smith is listening to this podcast, you are a Ferrari too.
There we go. Shout out to the Smiths. If Voltest is like a new solution that didn't exist before, how do you view the competitive landscape then?
We actually have competitors. Most of them, I would say, I mean, you can count them on one hand, and we are all quite small companies, new companies, and I think all of them are a couple of years old. So it's a blue ocean, and everybody's experimenting and testing new markets, new approaches, strategy. So it's really cool to see how everybody is acting. And we're also constantly connected with the founders of these other companies, because yes, we are competitors, but you can always learn from everybody. There's some different approaches. Our solution is hardware-based because we can get the data of the real battery. Others are more statistics-based, so only software. In my opinion, it's a little bit less precise, especially for people who are, betting their income on this. But everybody's taking a different approach, and it's exciting to see. I think the market will tell which one is the best.
For sure.
But I'm sure there's space for every company at this stage.
Gotcha. And while we were on the topic of names, you are backed by some notable names like Techstars, Generator, and Tech Futures Group. How has the support from them helped Voltest overall?
I think that it has been tremendous. And if it weren't for them, we would certainly not be here. And the reason I'm saying this is because when we started full-time Voltest, it's your first startup. You think you know what you're doing, but basically you're not. You don't. So Generator was a pre-accelerator. So they helped us, getting the first structure, the first pitch, getting ready for an accelerator, a real accelerator. And then we got selected by Techstars. And Techstars was the first investor. And we were bootstrapping everything for a year and a half. And their support has been tremendously valuable. First, for the financial aid,
Right.
because they invested in us, and second, also because it's a startup validation. If you're part of Techstars, investors know that, and they know that you already have been screened by someone else. So that's really helpful. It gives credibility, not so much on the, well, for example, in the dealership industry, because nobody knows Techstars in the dealership industry, but in the investors and fundraising industry, of course. And finally, Tech Futures Group, the advisor that is following us, has been of immense value from a strategic point of view, because he helped us drafting the first contracts with our suppliers, drafting the first contract with our early hires, with advisors, and all those bureaucratic things and strategic things that we did not know. They told us, hey, you need to take these things into consideration. So it's tremendous value, and we hope that it keeps going like this, because it's really useful to have people who have been in entrepreneurship for more than 30 years.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn.
A lot of strategic value, and a lot of partnerships at the right time, starting from Generator, then Techstars, and then the Tech Futures Group. And I'm sure like a lot of the success can be attributed to them, but also just like the blood, sweat, and tears that you poured in as one of the co-founders. I think like every day, like we not only like make assumptions, but we also like rely on them. And I imagine there are assumptions made about EVs that aren't necessarily true. So to leave us off on a note of wisdom, what conceptions do you wish were cleared up about electric vehicles?
This may sound counterintuitive, because I'm working on this, that EV batteries are extremely reliable. So if you are in the industry, you are an EV owner, you want to check how your battery is doing, because if it fails, which has a non-negligible failure rate, but if it fails, it's going to be extremely expensive, especially if you're trading EVs, like hundreds of EVs. It's going to have an impact. And we already found broken batteries, and people lost money on them. But actually, EV batteries are really reliable, and they're lasting longer than expected. So for the consumer who is scared about buying a used EV, I would say don't be scared, because there are some tools like Voltest that can remove any fear and doubt about the car that you're buying. And you may find a car that is in better shape than others. And that's why you always need to test it, because they don't age the same way. But it's quite rare to find a completely broken battery, which is a thing that you still want to avoid. But if you're not getting an EV because you're afraid of the used battery, just run a Voltest report, and you can be worry-free.
Yeah, I think like that's like the big messaging, like purchase a EV like worry-free, and then for a dealership or service shop, like know like the battery health, so that you can protect your reputation and then maximize your sales.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation. I think Voltest is a very promising company. And then you also mentioned before that you literally sold out your product yesterday. So good news for that.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to have you on, Niccolò.
And I hope this interview is also useful to debunk some myths. And thanks for hosting this. It was really, really fun, Sean.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this interview, follow along on EarthABC's LinkedIn to stay connected and never miss what's going on in climate tech. If you'd like to reach out or you're interested in coming on as a guest, feel free to connect with me, Sean Pack, on LinkedIn. We're always looking for inspiring ventures and founders in the climate space to feature on the show. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time.